Jack Carter stood alone on the landing pad, holding his helmet under one arm. The wind was dry and sharp, and the sky above Earth's capital city was filled with patrol drones. He had been in many missions before: a deep jungle, enemy war zones, black ops in space, but this was something different. This mission. He didn't want it, and neither did anyone else. He was assigned as the personal bodyguard for Ambassador Vieira, a high-ranking alien from the Thalxari Empire. The Thalxari had been enemies of Earth for almost 100 years. Only recently had both sides agreed to talk about peace. Now, the first Thalxari ambassador was coming to Earth, and someone had to protect her. But no one trusted the Thalxari. They looked different, spoke with strange energy pulses, and had powerful technology. Even though they were now allies, most soldiers saw them as dangerous. That's why they gave the job to Jack, a man who followed orders and kept quiet. As the alien ship landed with a low hum, Jack watched carefully. The ship was shaped like a silver blade and shimmered with blue light. The door opened slowly, and a tall figure stepped out. She was not like the alien monsters he had seen in war vids. She was graceful, glowing faintly, with deep violet skin and silver eyes. Her name was Vieira, and even among her kind, she was something special. She wore robes that shifted colors as she walked, and a crown of crystal wires rested above her head. She looked at Jack with no fear, no pride, only calm focus. "You are my assigned protector," she said in clear English. Jack nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Jack Carter. "I'll keep you alive." She blinked slowly, then said, "Let us hope you can." The next few days passed slowly. Jack followed her everywhere, through human council meetings, alien trade talks, and security briefings. People stared at her, whispered behind her back, and some even refused to shake her hand. Vieira ignored it all, standing tall, speaking softly, never losing her patience. Jack began to feel uneasy. He had expected a cold-blooded alien with no care for human life, but Vieira. She was calm, intelligent, and strangely kind. Still, he didn't let his guard down. Not for a second. He had a job, and he planned to do it that night. A private dinner was held at the Earth UN Peace Building. Only top human leaders and Vieira were present. Jack stood near the wall, eyes scanning the room, earpiece buzzing with soft updates. Then it happened so fast, he barely had time to think. A buzzing noise, then a sharp click under the table. Jack's training kicked in. He dove forward just as a bomb exploded under Vieira's chair. The blast sent both of them flying. He landed hard, pain exploding in his side. But his body shielded hers. Shouts echoed in the hall. Smoke filled the air, and red lights flashed. Jack looked down. His armor was torn, blood pouring from his ribs. "Jack." He heard her voice, distant, panicked. He tried to speak, but the pain dragged him into darkness. The last thing he saw was Vieira's glowing hands pressed against his wound, her eyes wide in fear. She was crying, real tears running down her face. An alien crying for him. When Jack opened his eyes again, everything was wrong. He wasn't in a hospital, or even on Earth. He was in a round room with glowing walls and soft lights. A strange humming sound surrounded him, and he felt light as air. He tried to move, but his chest ached badly. Then a voice spoke from the side. "You're awake," Vieira said. Stepping into view, she looked tired, her hair loose, wrinkled. "What happened?" Jack groaned. "I took you aboard my ship," she said quietly. "You were dying. Earth's doctors couldn't help, but my healers could." Jack blinked, confused. "You took me off Earth?" "That's against protocol." "Yes," she said, sitting beside him. "I broke it." He stared at her, not understanding. "You bled for me, Jack Carter," she whispered, looking down at his wound. "No one has ever done." That before, she looked into his eyes, and her voice changed soft but powerful in Thalxori tradition. When someone gives blood to protect you, you owe them a life in return. Jack tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. You don't owe me anything, he said, but she only shook her head. No, Jack, I do. And I will. The stars outside the ship glowed brightly, and somewhere deep. Inside Jack, something began to shift. He had saved her life, yes, but what she was about to do next would change his life forever. Jack woke to silence. No sirens, no machines, no human voices. Just the soft hum of alien energy flowing through the walls. He was lying in a transparent pod filled with glowing mist. The ceiling above him moved. Like water live with star patterns, his body ached, but the pain was fading. Alien medicine, he guessed. He sat up slowly, pulling off the medical tubes. His chest was wrapped in silver bands that pulsed with warmth. They didn't feel like bandages, more like living fabric. The door slid open, and Virea entered the room. She wore a different robe, dark blue, marked with glowing symbols. Her face looked calm, but her eyes were tired. "You're awake," she said, her voice steady but quiet. Jack nodded slowly. "Still alive? Thanks to you." She walked to him and placed a small bowl of glowing liquid on the table beside his pod. "Drink this," she said. "It will complete the healing." Jack hesitated, then drank. It tasted like cold air and light. He felt stronger within. Seconds. Then she said the words that changed everything. "You saved me from death." Jack Carter. "I didn't think. I just acted." He replied. She shook her head. "That does not matter. You did what no one else has ever done." Jack frowned. "Okay, but why did you bring me here, off Earth?" "That," she said, "is part of our law." She stepped back and raised her right hand. A symbol lit up on her palm. It was the same shape as the wound on Jack's side. "You have triggered the blood oath." Jack stared at her, confused. "What the hell is that?" "In Thalxori culture," she explained, "when someone willingly bleeds to protect another, a sacred bond forms. You risked your life for me. Now, by law and tradition, I am bound to you." Jack blinked. "Bound how?" "Like bodyguard duty reversed." She looked serious. "Bound with honor. I must protect you, defend you, and if needed, die for you." Jack's jaw dropped. "That's extreme." Viera gave a faint smile. "To you, perhaps. To my people, it is sacred." He stood, wobbling slightly. "So what now?" "You return." "Me to Earth?" "No," she said firmly. "I cannot." "Not yet." He narrowed his eyes. "Why not?" "Because someone tried to kill us," she said. "And I believe it was someone from your side." The room grew colder. Jack's voice dropped. "A human." Vera nodded. "I think there's a plot to stop the peace talks. Someone does not want the treaty to succeed." She tapped her wrist. And a hologram appeared, showing Earth's peace conference room with parts of the bomb. Jack stepped forward. Analyzing it, that wasn't Thalxori tech, it was human. He swore under his breath. "So what do we do?" He asked. "I cannot return to Earth without you," she said. "They'll think I kidnapped you. The treaty will fall apart. And if I go back alone," Jack said, "they'll think you're hiding something." They looked at each other. In silence, understanding the danger, she sat down across from him, placing her hands on the table. "There is only one path left." Jack raised an eyebrow. "And that is?" "We go to my world," she said. "If you stand before my leaders and confirm the blood oath, I will gain protection, and we may continue the peace process from there. Your world." Jack said slowly, "The Thalxori homeworld." "Yes," she replied. "You would be the first human ever allowed to walk its surface." He let out a breath, rubbing the back of his neck. "This just keeps getting crazier." Virea smiled softly. Welcome to diplomacy. Suddenly, her wrist device blinked red. She looked down, then froze. What is it? Jack asked quickly. She answered in a low voice. Someone just sent a coded message to this ship. Jack stepped forward. What does it say? Her eyes narrowed. It says, one of them knows. Eliminate the human. Jack tensed, reaching for the weapon clipped to the side of his healing pod. Looks like I'm not just your bodyguard anymore. She stood up slowly, her face hard now. No, now I'm yours. At that moment, the lights dimmed. A silent alarm flashed in the corner of the room. Intruder alert. Jack grabbed the alien. Blaster and Virea's hands glowed with soft blue energy. They stood back to back, ready for anything. Jack whispered, guess the mission just changed. Virea replied, no, Jack, the mission just began. And deep in the shadows of the ship, someone waited. Someone who knew that if this human and alien survived together, they would rewrite the future. The corridors of the alien ship were silent. Too silent. Jack moved carefully, holding the alien blaster in both hands. Beside him, Vera's steps made no sound, her hands glowing with soft blue light. They didn't speak. They didn't need. 2. Whoever had sent that message was still on board, and both of them knew it. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He wasn't just protecting her anymore. Now someone was hunting him. This wasn't part of any Earth's training manual, but he had survived worse on battlefields, on broken ships, on alien moons. He would survive this too. They reached the central command room. Virea tapped her wrist, bringing up a full scan of the ship. Life signs, she whispered. 17 crew members, but one is not where they should be. Jack leaned over her shoulder, watching the blinking red dot in the engineering bay. He asked. She nodded. No reason for anyone to be there at this hour. They moved quickly, weapons ready. Jack could feel the tension rising in the air, like static before a storm. The ship's lights flickered once, then returned to normal. You have saboteurs even in your own crew. Jack asked quietly. Virea answered. My people fear peace. Some believe humans are too violent, too selfish. Jack grinned bitterly. They might be right. She looked at him. Yet you jumped on a bomb to save me. That made him pause. He didn't have an answer. He had acted on instinct, nothing more. But now it felt like something more when they entered the engineering bay. The door was already open. That was wrong. Vera raised her hand, her palm glowing brighter now. Whoever is here, they're not hiding anymore, she whispered suddenly. The lights went out. Complete darkness. Jack's human eyes struggled to adjust. Virea whispered something in her language, and a small orb of light appeared in the air. It floated ahead, lighting their path with cold, pale light. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. You should not be here, Ambassador. It was deep, distorted, and came from all around. You broke protocol. You broke trust. You brought a human onto sacred ground, Virea replied calmly, and someone tried to kill us. I will not allow silence to cover murder. You shame your people, the voice said. Now closer. You carry his blood, his pain. You have become one of them. Jack stepped forward, voice firm. You want to kill me? Do it to my face. From behind a stack of energy coils, a Thalxari male stepped out. His skin was darker than Virea's, almost black with silver. Veins, his eyes were cold and hollow, and he held a plasma blade in one hand. I will cleanse your mistake, he said. Then he rushed. Jack raised the blaster and fired. The shot hit the floor near the attacker's feet. Making him stumble, Vera moved like lightning, her hand shot out. Blasting the saboteur with a wave of light, he flew backward, crashing into the wall. But he wasn't done. With a roar, he activated his blade and charged again. Jack grabbed a nearby tool, blocking the strike just in time. Sparks flew. Virea shouted, "Don't kill him." Jack managed to knock the weapon from the attacker's hand. Then he spun, landing a hard punch to the Thalxri's jaw. The attacker collapsed, breathing hard but alive. Security bots arrived seconds later, scanning the scene and locking the saboteur in stasis. Viara stood over him, her expression unreadable. "You would betray your people for fear," she said. "You would murder to keep us in war." The attacker laughed weakly. "War is better than weakness. Peace makes us soft." Virea turned away, her face hard. "I will report this to the council," she said. "They must know the truth." Later, in her private chamber, Jack sat down, exhausted. His knuckles were bruised, his chest still sore. Vera entered quietly, handing him a drink. He sipped it slowly. Was cool and sweet. "Calming, thanks," he said. "For saving me." She sat beside him, silent for a long moment. Then she said, "When your blood touched mine, something changed." Jack looked at her, confused. She continued, "Your memories. They bleed into me." "What?" he asked, sitting up straight. "I see flashes. Your brother. The battlefield. The day you were left behind." Jack's face went pale. "No one knows about that." "I didn't choose to see," Vera said gently. "But your pain is now mine. It's the side effect of the blood oath." He turned away, trying to hide his emotions. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "Neither did I," she whispered. "But I do not regret it." He looked back at her slowly. There was something new in her eyes, something soft, something human, and deep inside him, something cracked open. He had saved her life, but now she had reached into his soul, outside the window. Stars passed silently, but inside, the silence between them said more than words ever could. The stars outside the window glowed like fireflies. Jack stared at them, but didn't really see them. His mind was far away, drifting back into places he didn't want to remember. His brother's face, young and proud, smiling before the mission that went wrong. A battlefield full of smoke and broken helmets. The sound of gunfire, the silence after. He had buried that pain deep, so deep, no one could reach it. But now, Virea had, without asking, without warning, through the blood oath. She had seen his worst memories. He didn't blame hers. She hadn't chosen it. But it still felt like someone had opened a locked door in his heart. And now, the light was pouring in. Vera stood a few steps behind him, quiet and still. She wasn't glowing like before. Her skin was dimmer, her energy calm, almost sad. "I should not have seen those things," she said softly. "It wasn't your fault," Jack muttered, still looking away. "It's the oath. It connects us." "You didn't mean to?" She stepped beside him, her voice low and careful. "But I felt what you felt." Jack flinched. "Then you know why I don't trust anyone?" Vera didn't respond right away. Then she said, "You were betrayed." He nodded slowly. "My squad left me. Said the mission was complete. But my brother was still alive out there. I stayed behind to find him." She looked at him gently. "You found only his body." Jack closed his eyes, a sharp breath leaving him. "Yes." The silence grew heavy. Then Virea reached out and placed her hand over his. Jack didn't pull away. She said, "On my world, we honor pain. We believe it makes the soul stronger." He gave a dry laugh. "Then I must be a war god by now." But she didn't laugh. She just looked at him, really looked. Like she was seeing through all his walls. "Your soul is strong," she whispered. "But it's also tired." Jack finally turned to face her. He expected pity, but there was none, only quiet respect. "I've never met anyone like you," he said. Vera smiled faintly. "And I've never met anyone like you." Just then, a loud chime rang through the ship. A red light pulsed along the wall. Security alert. Virea tapped her wrist. "What now?" A hologram appeared, security bots chasing a figure through the outer decks. "It's not the same attacker," she said. "This one's different." Jack stood quickly, strapping his gear on. "Let's go." They ran through the ships. Long corridors, passing confused crew members and flashing lights. When they reached the outer deck, they stopped, shocked. A young Thalxri woman stood with her hands raised, surrounded by security bots. She wore mechanic's clothes, covered in grease and burn marks. Her eyes were wide with fear. "I didn't mean to," she cried in the alien language. "I was only trying to warn you." Vera stepped forward, holding up her hand to stop the bots. "Who are you?" The girl dropped to her knees. "My name is Kelly. I'm from the lower levels. I overheard a message. A second bomb was planted." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Where?" She looked up, trembling, "In the diplomatic archives. It's set to go off when we land on my homeworld." Viraya's face went pale. "That room holds the only records of Earth's Galactic agreements. If it's destroyed, the Council will think humans betrayed us." Jack clenched his fists. It would end the peace talks before they even start. They moved fast, racing toward the archive room. Security bots followed, and Kelly led the way. She showed them the hidden compartment beneath the archive table. Inside was a small, glowing device, far more advanced than anything Jack had seen. Even Virya looked shocked. "This is not Thalxri tech," she said. Jack examined it. "It's not human either." He tapped his earpiece. "Can we get a tech scan on this?" A crew member replied, "No match found in either database." Jack and Vera looked at each other. "Then who planted it?" she asked. Jack's voice was cold. "Someone who doesn't want either side to win." Virya disabled the bomb using a code from her wrist. The device powered down slowly. The danger was over for now. Back in her quarters, Jack paced the room. "This just got bigger than both of us," he said. She nodded. "Someone is playing both sides." Jack stopped pacing and looked at her. "If they went through this much trouble, they're not stopping at one ship." She stepped closer to him. "Then we stay together," she said. "The blood oath may have started this, but now it's our choice to see it through." Jack looked at her. This strange alien woman who had seen his pain and hadn't turned away. He nodded slowly. Together, somewhere in the stars, a dark force was watching, waiting for them to fail, but it had made one mistake. Didn't count on a human who never gave up, and an alien diplomat who was willing to break every rule, just to stand by him. The ship slowed as it neared the glowing rings of the Thalxri homeworld. A massive blue and silver planet, wrapped in energy fields and floating cities. Jack stood near the viewing deck, staring in silence. It looked beautiful, peaceful, even gentle, but he knew the truth. This world was full of laws, power struggles, and eyes waiting to judge him. Beside him, Vera stood dressed in her ceremonial robes. She had changed since they met. Her energy felt heavier now, more guarded. But her voice was steady. "We land in less than 1 hour." She said, "The moment we step out, I will be questioned." Jack nodded. "And me?" "You'll be inspected," she said carefully. "Not as a guest, but as a threat." Jack laughed once, dry and low. "I've been called worse." She gave him a sad smile. "Don't speak unless asked. Don't make sudden moves. And whatever you do, don't bleed." Jack frowned. "Why not?" "In Thalxri tradition," she explained, "blood is sacred. If you are harmed, it will be seen as a sign, a declaration of war." He asked, "Or something worse?" She whispered. The ship docked inside a massive glowing chamber. Rows of Thalxri guards in silver armor stood in silence. Their leader, Counselor Alzin, waited in the center, tall and cold-eyed ambassador. "Virya," he said, "you were not given permission to return." Virya bowed slightly. "And yet I have returned." With truth, Jack stepped forward. And the room shifted. Weapons clicked, guards moved, tension rose like a wave. But Virea raised her hand. He is here, under the blood oath. I accept all punishment. All Zen's eyes narrowed. Then you know what this means? I do, she said. I break protocol. Willingly, gasps filled the chamber. Virea was one of the most respected diplomats in the Empire, and now she was throwing everything away for a human. Jack stayed silent. Watching her stand tall in front of her people, she didn't flinch. Didn't step back, even as Alzin said, "You will lose your title, your seat, and your voice in the council." She nodded. Then let it be done. A silver band around her wrist blinked once. Then shattered, the mark of a diplomat gone. Virea turned to Jack, her voice quiet but firm. You saved my life, Jack Carter. Now I give mine to protect yours later. They were taken to a waiting chamber, tall glass room overlooking a glowing sea. Jack sat down heavily. You didn't have to do that. I did, she said. Because you are the only one who knows the truth. Jack looked at her. We could have lied. Faked a report. Played it safe. She shook her head. Safe is no longer an option. Someone wants war. We must bring them into the light. Just then, a new figure entered, an elder Thalxari woman. Like burning coals, she bowed slightly. Vera, by breaking protocol, you now qualify for the trial of stars. Vera froze. That law is ancient, the elder replied, and still binding. Jack stood up. What's the trial of stars? The elder looked at him. A test of truth. You enter a sacred chamber. Your bond is judged. If it is false, the chamber destroys you. Jack blinked. Destroys us. Like dead. Yes, the elder said calmly. And if we pass, you walk out as one. Your bond becomes law. Jack turned to Virea. Do we have a choice? No, she said, voice flat. Jack sighed. Then let's do it. The trial of stars was held in an ancient tower at the edge of the capital. No weapons, no tech, no guards, just the two of them. They entered a glowing room where the air shimmered like heat. A soft voice filled the chamber. Neither male nor female. Speak your truth. Hold nothing back. And let your hearts be judged. Jack took a deep breath. He looked at Virea and said, When I first met you, I didn't trust you. I thought you were just another alien in fancy robes. Virea smiled faintly. When I saw you, I thought, you were a blunt weapon, a tool Earth sent to spy on me. He nodded. Maybe I was. She said, maybe I was too. Then Jack continued. But when the bomb went off, I didn't think about politics. I just saw someone in danger. I acted. Virea stepped closer. When you bled, I felt something break inside me. Not fear, not duty. Something older. Jack's voice dropped. I've never trusted anyone since my brother died. But you didn't run when you saw my pain. Virea reached out, taking his hand. And you didn't run when I showed you mine. The chamber pulsed with bright light. The walls shifted, showing flashes of their memories, war, loss, laughter. The quiet look they shared before the archive bomb. Then the voice returned. Truth is seen. Bond is real. Judgment complete. The door opened, and they stepped out. A live Counselor Alzen stood waiting. Shocked. You passed, he said. No one has passed in over 500 years. Vera raised her head. Then it is time. For change, Jack stood beside her as she faced the council. She had no title now, no power, but she had something greater truth. And the human who bled for her, the city of Loratal, sparkled beneath a silver sky. Jack stood on a wide balcony overlooking the alien capital. Floating bridges connected tall towers, and glowing ships passed between them like silent birds. But behind the beauty was tension. The news had spread across the empire. A human had passed the trial of stars. No outsider had ever done it. Now Jack and Virea were symbols of change, of danger, of hope. Some Thauxeri praised them, calling it the beginning of a new era. Others whispered that it was all a trick, a human trap, and deep in the shadows, someone was still trying to destroy everything. Inside the High Council chamber, Vera stood before the leaders of her people. She wore no crown, no robe, only a simple garment of black and silver. Jack stood beside her, hands behind his back, alert but calm. The room was filled with tall, Thauxeri elders, all glowing faintly in different shades. In the center sat Counselor Alzan, his face hard as stone. "You broke the law," he said slowly, "and yet the law now bends to you." Virea nodded, "Because the law must serve." Truth Alzan's eyes narrowed. "And you believe this human is part of that truth?" She looked at Jack, then back at the council. "Yes," she said, "I do." Murmurs spread across the chamber. Another counselor stood, her voice sharp. "Then let the trial be complete." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" "We already passed." The woman replied, "That was the trial of the stars, for the bond. Now comes the trial of the flame, to prove you can stand under fire together." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That sounds painful," Virea answered quietly. "It will be." The trial of the flame was an old tradition, nearly forgotten. It was meant to test leaders, warriors, those who stood for unity. Two people entered together, bound by choice. They would face physical, mental, and emotional trials. If either failed, both would be cast out. The chamber was deep underground, carved from ancient crystal and stone. Torches of blue fire lined the walls, and the air was thick with heat. Jack and Virea stepped into the circle, their hands clasped. The voice of the chamber spirit echoed through the stone. "Are you ready to be burned by truth?" Virea answered, "Yes." Jack said nothing, he only nodded. The first trial began, the trial of pain. Flames surrounded them. Not real fire, but energy. Each flame touched a memory, painful ones, sharp and cutting. Jack saw his brother dying again. He fell to his knees, gripping his chest. Vera saw her childhood, being told never to trust humans. She shook under the weight of fear, but they reached out, hands finding each other again. And the flames pulled back. The second trial began, the trial of doubt. Voices filled the chamber. "You are fools. You broke the law. She's using you. He's lying." The words echoed like thunder. Jack clenched his fists, eyes shut. "I don't care what they say," he muttered. "I've seen who you are." Virea's voice rose over the whispers. "And I've seen who you could be." The noise vanished, leaving silence. Then came the final test, the trial of trust. A platform rose between them, with only one path forward. But there was a catch. Jack had to walk blind, guided only by Virea's voice. If he slipped, the fall would be deep. If she hesitated, he could die. Jack took a deep breath, closing his eyes. Virea called out gently, "Left." 3 steps. He moved, slow and careful. Now forward. He walked straight, heart pounding, trusting every word. The path was narrow, the air hot. But he never stopped. At last she said, "One step up." He did, and her hand found his. Pulling him back into the light, the chamber spirit whispered, "Trust is proven." Flame endured, the walls faded. And they stood in the council chamber. Once again, burned, sweaty, but alive, Counselor Alzan rose slowly. "You passed," he said. Voice low but clear. "You are now bound by Thauxeri flame." Forever, some counselors stood and bowed. Others stayed seated, silent and bitter. But the law had been obeyed. The oath was real. Outside, thousands of Thauxeri watched the council broadcast. And when they saw Jack and Virea step into the sunlight together, hand in hand, they didn't see an alien and a human. They saw something new. The first spark of peace, lit by flame, shaped by stars, and guarded by two hearts that had every reason to walk apart, but chose, again and again, to stand together. A week after the trial of the flame, nothing was the same. The image of Jack and Varaya walking out of the sacred chamber had been broadcast across dozens of worlds. Some called them heroes, others called them traitors, but no one could ignore. What they had done, they had passed both trials, something no one had done in generations. They had stood side by side, in pain, in fire, in truth. Now their names were written in the Book of Stars, the Thoxeries' ancient record of history, inside a grand hall made of silver stone. Jack stood beside Varaya as the Peace Council gathered again. This time, not just Thoxery were present. Human diplomats had arrived too, wearing black suits and earpieces. Looking nervous and out of place, the room buzzed with quiet energy, hope, fear, and something else. Change. Vera spoke first, her voice clear and steady. The bond has been tested, and the flame has accepted it. Jack stepped forward and added, "We are not the same. But we don't have to be. There is a future where both sides survive, more than survive." They grow. A silence followed, long and heavy. Then Counselor Alzon rose from his seat. For days, no one had known where he stood, friend or enemy. Now he looked at Jack with a calm, unreadable face. "I opposed this from the beginning," Alzon said. "I believed no human could understand honor or keep sacred bonds." He paused, looking around the room. "I was wrong." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Alzon continued, "This council will not ignore what we have seen. I propose a new treaty based not only on trade or politics, but on living example. A treaty bound by fire and blood." The crowd stood as one for the first time in 100 years. Humans and Thoxery were no longer just two sides of a cold war. They were partners. Later that night, on a quiet balcony above the glowing city, Jack leaned on the railing. The stars above him felt closer now, like they were watching, listening. Varaya stepped beside him. Holding 2 cups of warm crystal water, she handed him one, and they stood in silence for a moment. "You did something impossible," she said softly. Jack took a sip. "No, we did." She turned to him, her silver eyes catching the starlight. "You could return to Earth now. Be a hero. Write books. Give speeches." He chuckled. "I hate microphones." She smiled. "Then stay." He looked at her. Really looked. "Why me?" he asked. "You've seen everything. My anger, my fear, my scars." She nodded. "Yes. And you saw mine." He looked down, quiet. Then he said, "I don't belong anywhere." Varaya reached out and touched his hand. "You do now?" At that moment, a small Thoxery child walked onto the balcony, holding a carved stone. She looked up at Jack with wide glowing eyes. "Are you the human who survived the trial of stars?" Jack laughed. "That's me." She held out the stone shyly. "My teacher says you're the flame now." Jack took the stone, surprised. It was smooth, warm, and had both a human and Thoxery symbol carved into it. Vera smiled gently. "In our culture, that is a symbol of unity." The child ran off, and Jack stared at the stone for a long time. Then he whispered, "I guess the flame keeps burning." Weeks later, the first joint human Thoxery training center opened. In orbit, Jack became the first human instructor there. He taught security, trust, and something no textbook had: courage under fire. Vera, though no longer a council member, became the most trusted voice in diplomacy. Together, they visited worlds where peace talks had once failed, now succeeded. Still, not all was perfect. There were still whispers, threats, and shadowed groups who hated the bond they shared. But Jack and Varaya didn't run. They faced the dangers side by side, always one night. As they watched another world rise into view, Virea leaned on his shoulder. "I once thought humans were dangerous," she said. Jack smirked. "We are." She smiled. "Yes, but you are also brave, loyal, and capable of deep love." He looked at her, soft and steady. "You changed my life," he said. She whispered. "And you changed mine." The stars above continued to shine. But two of them burned brighter, carried not by fate or war, but by choice, a bodyguard who bled for peace, and an alien diplomat who broke every law to protect him. Together, they didn't just survive, they lit a fire that united worlds, and it would never go out.